Hi, I'm Yao, and I'm friends with Alfred when he was studying in Thailand. I come from Singapore, and I'm Chinese by ethnicity, but I've been living in Bangkok, Thailand for majority of my life, since I was 7 years old, and I'm currently 21. So a majority of my time was spent growing up in Thailand.
Hi, my name is Lex. I'm Taiwanese, but I grew up in Thailand. For education, I went to an international high school in Bangkok, Thailand, and I'm currently studying advertising at Boston University in the United States.
I identify ethnically as a Sikkimese. The Sikkimese are a people who originate from the kingdom of Sikkim, located in the Himalayas. We are bordered by Nepal to the west, Tibet to the north, Bhutan to the east, and India to the south.
Hi, my name's Ethan. I am a white Caucasian British male. Particular cultural experiences I've had include, I lived in the UK for 12 years and then I moved to Bangkok and lived there and went to an international school for the 8 years, and then I'm back in the UK living there now, and I also study in the UK.
Hello, hi, my name is Cece. I am Asian and white, and I was born and raised in Tianjin, China. My mom is Chinese, my dad is super white, and yeah, I was born and raised there. I went to school there until I moved to the US for my freshman year of high school because my family wanted me and my brother to have both cultures, instilled in us.
Hello, my name is Ahmad. I'm Iranian. So I was born in Iran and lived there for 5 years first. And then I moved to Dubai and lived there for 4 years. And then I moved back to Iran again and lived there for another 4 years. And then finally I moved to London and I've been living here for 9 years now. In the past I've been to international schools mainly. And then finally I joined university at LSE, the London School of Economics and Political Science.
Taking off your shoes before stepping into your house because it is a sign of respect.
I would say is to not wear black because black is a funeral color and it symbolizes bad and negative energy, which I believe there's certain ties with the religion here in Taiwan.
The social norm, which I believe is a common practice and is unique to the Sikkimese ethnicity, is the practice of adopting foreign cultures and traditions while slowly forgetting our own, or the Sikkimese identity. I have noticed among especially my generation, that is, people around my age group, my peers, many of my peers and relatives can speak English, Nepali, Hindi, Tibetan, Dzongkha, and so forth. But very few people can actually speak their own native language, that is, Sikkimese or Lokhe.
Speaking to each other about the weather in like small talk situations. I think that's pretty standard across the UK, right across my demographic in particular.
It's a bit strange for me, and my brother, I guess, and any mixed person. I feel like maybe, but it's like because of the certain social norms you've picked up from both sides of the culture, you don't know where you belong in the end. You know what I mean? And I think one major thing that I've noticed is how people communicate. For what I'm used to, what I grew up listening to, and especially since we mainly speak Mandarin in my household, we communicate very straightforwardly. It's hard to explain. I don't really know how to actually explain it, but I know my Asian people out there would probably understand. But in our household, it's very straightforward. You say what you're thinking, blah blah blah. And then meanwhile, on the other side of the family, it's very, you keep to yourself, but at the same time you're very like fake about things. Not necessarily fake, but it's a bit bizarre to hear I love yous from people you don't know. You know what I mean? You don't really express how you feel, I guess. Verbally at least. I've never heard an I love you from my grandparents, you know what I mean? But I know they love me because everyone I know, like, that's Chinese, they show everything through their actions rather than through the way they speak about how much they care for you.
In Iran, we have many social norms. I'll talk about the concept of taarruf, which is Taarof. Taarruf is a form of exaggerated politeness, which is mainly used for hospitality and social interactions. The taxi drivers and shops will often say قابل نداره, which translates to it is worthless or there is no charge. Customers are required to show respect in return and insist on paying. This goes back and forth a few times until the seller finally accepts the payment. This is all a form of respect and hospitality, even though sometimes we don't actually mean it. Like when we are trying to sell something and we say, no, it is worth it, you don't need to pay. But it's kind of an extreme way of respect. Like it's sometimes not actually respect, it's just like taarruf.
I am not willing to break such social norms because it has been ingrained, passed down from generations to generations, and it's part of what my parents taught me growing up, that it's a sign of respect and I should follow, you know, when I visit someone's house, always take your shoes off. I picked this because this social norm is, I feel it not only comes from a Chinese background. I feel like this social norm is very Asian. So regardless if you're Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Indian, Malaysian, Singaporean, Thai, we all do this when we visit someone's house. So it was kind of a culture shock when I was in the US.
Yes, I am wearing black now. I feel like as the society progress, those traditional values, like black, is not that frowned upon within my younger generation. And I picked this because this social norms can be limiting, as I believe fashion is a way a person express their characteristics and their personality.
I am willing to break the social norm because I feel it is a great responsibility upon Sikkimese people to keep their own culture alive. I understand it is important to respect and to experience the cultures foreign to our own, but I also believe it is very important to preserve one's own identity. I chose this topic for its historical significance as well as the connection it has to my heart.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's fairly harmless. I don't think it really jeopardizes anyone into any situation. Why did I pick it? Actually, I think it's quite interesting because from the point of view of growing up in Asia, for a large chunk of my life, you notice that eating with a knife and fork isn't common practice everywhere, and it's a social norm to eat with a spoon and fork over there, and that's how it works.
Why did I pick this? Just because it's the first thing that always pops into my head.
Yeah, with non-Iranian friends, I try to avoid the concept of taarrufing, especially since I've lived abroad most of my life, as I have explained. And even with Iranian friends, if I'm close with them, I skip the formal stuff as long as I'm not a lot younger than them. The concept of taarruf is fairly unique to our culture, and it confuses tourists in Iran, which can put them in awkward situations if, for example, they accept the taarruf of the taxi driver and think that they don't actually have to pay, but they do.
I would probably think that we should respect people's houses and the efforts they put into cleaning the house. And you know, we're bringing so much bacteria outside from outside on the bottom of our shoes, and I feel that this is not just a social or cultural norm, but this is a practice of good hygiene and habit to keep your house clean and also keep you and your family clean, and it's especially important right now because of the pandemic.
My thoughts before breaking it, I definitely was confused and questioned why my parents would discourage me to wear darker colors, for example, black, gray, or navy.
A state of confusion because I did not understand why so many people who I knew who were so close to me didn't speak Sikkimese or know the traditions or wore the clothing. But upon breaking the norm, I began to understand how important it is for individuals to keep alive their own culture and their own identity.
So I have broken it in the UK. I guess if that's the norm, being eaten with a knife and fork. So, and I have chosen to eat with a spoon and fork because I got used to eating like that in Asia. And yeah, I guess initially before I was probably a bit like, oh, people might think this is weird, but I didn't think too much of it because it could perhaps I deviated from the social norm.
I think it's fine. I've learned to adjust to it. You know, I'm able to switch back and forth between the different ways I have to speak and communicate to people.
So I asked myself, am I close enough to avoid the formal stuff and not waste my time? And am I older than the other person? If yes, then I'll break the social norm of tarfing, as we call it.
I remember when I was in the US and I wore my shoes inside someone's house for the first time. I felt kind of strange because I've never worn shoes inside someone's house before.
Black to me is just a color. It's a fashion choice. But although I do recognize and acknowledge that sometimes the color black should be respected, and certain traditional values such as like wearing black to the funeral should be followed and respected.
I did get a few comments from friends who were like impressed to see someone eat a whole meal with just a spoon and a fork. It's something that culturally they hadn't encountered, and yeah, but it's something also fairly minimal and not many people take much notice to it.
I wouldn't want to break it again because I'm used to the way that I can adjust to both sides, but when I first came to the US, of course, I didn't understand these things. I really didn't know how to communicate with them. And it's really hard to explain. I don't know, I feel like you just have to go through it to know it, you know?
So it could be rude or awkward if the opposite side was expecting it and or notices you didn't show the respect they have deserved, but it is no big deal as long as they're younger than me.